Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we welcome you to the Disney Park Bench Podcast. Please give a warm welcome to your hosts, the Disney Utilidorks.
Hello and welcome to our second episode of the Disney Park Bench Podcast. We'll be a little quicker with the introductions this time since the last episode, or first episode as it were, was pretty much all introductions. So I am Justin, I have my co-host Amanda here.
Hi.
And we're just gonna kind of jump right into it here. We got a couple of things we wanted to talk about this month. We've got a main topic that we're going to get into later, but first, I really wanted to talk about this thing that's been going on in our world for the past year plus. Don't want to get too deep into the weeds here, but we can't not acknowledge the fact that, COVID-19 hit us badly about a year ago as of now. This is March in 2021. March 2020 was the first time that Disney World, both Disney World and Disneyland actually closed within like a week or two of each other. But the first time Disney World ever closed its parks for more than a day, and they remained closed for I want to say
months.
Yeah, it was months. I think they reopened in August, so we're talking like about 5 months.
July, I believe.
Yes.
Because at least one of the parks was open for July 4th, but I know Magic Kingdom did not open until right after, but I'm not clear on the exact dates.
Disney World was open in time for Disneyland's 65th anniversary, but Disneyland, as of now, still has not reopened. By the time this podcast comes out, it will be almost reopening. But it was a big thing for Disney World to be closed and for so long. And when they reopened, people kind of wondered if it was ever going to be the same. I have not been. Fortunately, my family went to Disney World in December of 2019. So we really kind of got in under the wire there. So everything was kind of business as usual when we were there. We got to see everything, at least everything that we had time to see. Lines were normal. There were no mask requirements or anything like that. And then it was just a few months later that everything completely shut down. Amanda, you, how long had it been since you had been to a Disney park when everything shut down?
Oh, the last time I had been to a park was that summer. I attended a DVC event at Animal Kingdom in August. So you had been there slightly more recently. I'd been hanging out at the other parks.
You had annual passes and don't anymore. I mean, nobody has them anymore, but...
Right, we had let ours lapse due to a move that ended up not happening, and the plan was, once we knew that we were going to be staying in the area, which is where I want to stay anyways, rebuying our Disney annual passes, because that's part of why we live where we do, and they're not selling them at the moment, and probably won't be until fall.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go over the many changes that have happened in just a minute, but it was.
Even people with annual passes can't necessarily go when they want because I still believe park hopping isn't an option, and you have to have reservations. So even having an annual pass doesn't guarantee you're going to get in.
Yeah, I know they're still doing the reservations. I think park hopping has been opened because I seem to recall seeing people on the internet talking about it. But yeah, like like I said, my family kind of lucked out. We got to go there just a few months before everything hit. We all got home safely and healthily. So that was nice. But yeah, like it was weird for this period. I watched a lot of YouTubers at the time who go to the Disney parks, and suddenly, content was running dry. I know some of them were doing trips around the Disney resorts, just showing the areas that they could access. And
if I can interject real quick, park hopping has returned, but there's restrictions. So they're still held to certain limits, and it looks like you can't necessarily enter like before a certain time frame. So it exists, but not with the freedoms that it had before.
Now, I seem to remember hearing something about them having like half-day reduced prices, like if you arrive after a certain time, or maybe that's my imagination.
I mean, that's unheard of for Disney in the past, with the exception of the After 4 Epcot tickets, but Disneyland, or Disney World rather, any of the Disneys closing for more than a day or two is also unheard of. They don't close.
Yeah, there's
a hurricane
lot
comes
of unheard
and
of.
they don't close.
So yeah, it might be the After 4 at Epcot that I'm thinking of. I know the 4 o'clock time sounds familiar. Pardon us for not being incredibly informed on this, but
it changes so quickly.
Yeah, and especially the past few months,
hard to keep up with. It's the employee, the cast members don't even always necessarily know what's going on before it's happening.
Yeah, it's been really weird. One thing that Disney has done well, or I should say had done well, was when they were closed, they were putting out a lot of content on social media, I noticed. And the official Disney World or Disney Parks YouTube channel, I'm not sure which, maybe it was both, would post videos of shows that normally you can only see when you go to the parks. So you could watch on your TV at home Happily Ever After, or I think they might have done Fantasmic at one point. I know they did a couple of the stage shows. So, it was nice that Disney's like, hey, we know nobody can come watch this stuff, but, here, we'll throw it up there on the internet for all to enjoy in the meantime. And I thought that was really, really neat.
Something that I liked was a lot of the performers and such were getting together, and I remember watching on Facebook at one point, a Facebook Live of the Dapper Dans. All of them. So far more than you normally get in,
Yeah, there were like 20 of them.
I guess they were on stage together, but they had all of the Dapper Dans together singing and performing on Facebook, and I imagine it was on YouTube too, and that was like kind of a cool experience because you don't get to see 20 Dapper Dans ever singing together and coming together like that. And I thought that was a really great show of community when everybody was feeling isolated.
Yeah, that was really cool. I mean, the shame of it is the longer it went on, the harder it became for Disney to hold on to this stuff. And we know there were a lot of furloughs, there were a lot of layoffs. A lot of people haven't gotten their job back. A lot of entertainment has been canceled. A lot of the shows that used to be around are no longer, not officially permanently closed, but just kind of, hey, like we don't have enough people in the parks to pay people to run these shows. So, when you're putting on a show, people watch the show. Right.
People want a good spot. It all of a sudden becomes a lot harder to maintain the social distancing and all of that when everybody's tried to cram together to see a stage show or a parade or fireworks.
Yeah, and that's been the big takeaway here is that they're trying to reduce the gatherings as much as possible. Like I know they have the I don't remember what they call them, but they're little mini parades where like one float will go from Frontierland to Main Street, with characters and music, and that will be it. And it won't be scheduled so that people aren't lined up ahead of time. So it's kind of neat that they have those things. Still no fireworks anywheres. Fantasmic
That almost reminds me, though, of what Disney used to be like, where you could walk through the parks and you might run into a character.
Yeah, they were really big on the characters just kind of being out and about, not always like where you could walk up and hug them, but like they were out and visible instead of. It
wasn't uncommon to see Mickey Mouse walking around his parks.
Yeah,
and I feel like it kind of brings that back a little bit, but it's also really disappointing, when it's like your 6-year-old's dream to meet Mickey Mouse and he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that the past few months, at least the first couple of months that Disney World was reopened, felt a lot like the earlier days, even like a decade or so ago of Disney World, where, like if you went during the school season, the lines were shorter, the crowds were sparser. I saw so many pictures in broad daylight of things with almost no people in them. And
the photo opportunities at the park late this summer were incredible. Like scenes and views that you just don't get with few people in them.
Yeah, it makes me wish that we could have gone. My wife and I had initially hoped to get back for like a long weekend this year to, celebrate our 1-year anniversary, because we didn't really get a true honeymoon when we got married. We had an accident in the family and ended up having to take the kids with us, so we were going to do like a 5-day weekend or something and come down, and that ended up never happening. But I would have loved to have been able to, because, as we mentioned prior, I was a cast member and spent a lot of time in the parks, and I remember the days when, it's September, it's October, all the kids are in school, so the parks are deserted.
You could do cartwheels down Main Street.
Yeah, and those days are kind of gone now.
Yeah, it has not been like that recently. Like, I remember as recently as when I moved to Florida in 2007, you could go in those off-season months and, spin around in circles and dance down the streets and not see a soul. And that's definitely kind of gone away over the few years. So it was kind of refreshing for me when I did get to go to, the parks to kind of have them empty. But the flip side of that is there's less entertainment. Almost no live entertainment, practically. There's reduced capacity, so you're already, struggling to get reservations and make it in. Not all of the attractions are necessarily open, and the ticket prices are still much higher than they were 10 years ago. So
yeah,
it all of a sudden gets a lot trickier. Like, you could talk about what it used to be like with the empty parks, but if you compare the ticket prices for less entertainment, is the value there?
Yeah, and I know that's been a big sticking point for a lot of people, and we have less entertainment, but we still pay the same amount, or we're paying more, or whatever. And I don't want to defend Disney's business practices too much. Like, I get it. Disney is a premium brand. You pay more
for the Disney experience,
for the Disney name. It's like I use Apple products. You pay more for the Apple brand. It's how it is. It's not always fair, but that's how business works.
And people pay it. If people quit paying it,
well, right,
it wouldn't necessarily raise them. So, I get that. It's just all of a sudden it's a really tricky situation.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like I get that Disney is already losing money on their parks, so they don't want to reduce the prices. Plus, you reduce the prices, you encourage more people to come, then you have crowd problems and
that's the last
problems.
thing they want right now.
So, like it's this awful juggling. Like, I would hate to be the person in charge of making these decisions, because on one hand, you're already under under the pressure of the shareholders who, oh, you can't do anything that's going to jeopardize our dividends, but and of course the people doing the budgets are like, hey, we got to make money somewhere, but at the same time it's like, yeah, but we're charging people for the same amount for less stuff.
And then you also come into the fact that Florida as a state has few restrictions, and we've had few restrictions for a long time. Florida never really truly shut down, despite some slight efforts to do so. So it's up to each county to decide if masks are required and what capacity's at. And you have, these areas with these hotels with massive convention centers that are used to holding, for example, the Florida Parent Educators Association Conference, big homeschool group that comes here in May, pulls in thousands of people from all across the country. So you have all of these people coming in, they're flocking to Disney, and then all of a sudden, you're dealing with state mandates and county mandates, and the shareholders are mad, and people are upset about the masks. There's no right answer.
Yeah, it's tough, and I would like to see Disney come out of this better overall. I know they're still going forward on most of their big plans for construction and renovations and refurbs and all that. So that's good to know that they're still planning on being around and updating things and celebrating their 50th. It's a crummy situation that everybody is in. I would definitely hate to have spent a whole lot of money and had a compromised experience. At the same time, I kind of understand where Disney's coming from, where the money's not only necessary for them to keep running, but it's also a deterrent from people flocking to the place.
Imagine all of a sudden they drop ticket prices and you're going to have people flocking there.
Right, exactly.
And locals especially.
I was going to say, the locals all come. It's a tricky situation, and I don't envy it. I will say that as far as the safety precautions, I think Disney's been hitting it out of the park. The mask mandates, the social distancing, all of that. Everybody I've heard from who've been there said, I never felt unsafe. They were always making sure that everybody was following the rules. There were occasional situations, and of course we've all seen the videos on TikTok and YouTube that we're not going to get into here because they're controversial. But I think for the most part, Disney's been like, hey, we're going to be 110% on safety. And
I mean, they've always been. You can say what you want about Disney, but one of the things that I really like about them as a company is that they do prioritize safety. So you can't control people. They can't control their guests. If they could, there's experiences that we've all had at the parks that wouldn't have happened because it's not up to Disney standards. But I can say I have not been to the park since this happened, but I have spent quite a bit of time at some of the resorts. I did get to see Riviera when it opened, and I have been very pleased with the way they prioritize safety. For example, at Riviera, brand new resort, so I don't know why it's set up this way, but there are no bathrooms in the pool area. You have to leave the pool area and kind of go down this walkway to go over to the restrooms. And I was there with my 6-year-old who could not go to the bathroom alone, and I just didn't think anything of it. We were in the pool, he had to go potty, so we go leave, and all of a sudden I get stopped on my way to take him to the bathroom because I don't have my mask.
Yeah,
he's 6. He has a tiny bladder. I didn't think to go grab our masks before getting him to the bathroom before, he peed in the pool. And all of a sudden, it was kind of a little bit annoying, getting chastised for not having my mask, but I'm actually a big proponent of masks. But I liked that those cast members were there and they were on top of it, hey, wear your masks. You're not in the pool area.
Yeah, and I think to that end, I don't know if they do, but they should have, maybe a couple of, kind of like when I was a custodian, we always had towels on us in case there was a need to clean something up. And I think, if each cast member carried about, like a half dozen masks on them in case somebody's breaks or gets lost or whatever. And I realize, they want to sell their masks. That's, yet another thing they've managed to turn into a collectible because it's Disney and we're nuts. But, I can totally see where hey, you need a mask. Oh, hey, I'm in a hurry to go to the bathroom. I can't go back. And here's, the cheap,
disposable one,
5-cent surgical mask that we can give you to use right now.
They were super kind about it. It's just like, oh, I didn't think to grab mine, and I mean, I can go get it, but he's going to pee on you before I get back. So.
Right, yeah.
But they do have this, when you go through security, especially because, at first it was kind of we all saw those pictures of, oh, you need a face covering and some really kind of obscure and ridiculous things that people used as face coverings. But, for example, they're not allowing the gaiters. They can't have, anything with, mesh. So when you go through the security and the bag checks, if the mask that you're wearing isn't up to their standards, they give you a disposable one.
Well, that's good to know. Cause...
I mean, they're kind of working off of that premise. And like I said, it wasn't really a problem. It was just, I kind of liked almost that I got stopped about it because it means they are paying attention. And I know the topic here isn't Universal, but I have more experience there lately. And they actually have team members walking around with, the signs reminding you to wear your mask with, the mask things on the back. For example, you can take your mask off to drink, but only if you're stationary. You can't, walk and be drinking. And, they're literally walking around with signs and pictures reminding you to mask up.
Yeah, and one of the weirder things that I saw online was... And this, before all of this happened, this was unheard of, but they had an announcement over the PA system in the park reminding people to, wear their masks and social distance. And I remember working at Disney World, we were told in traditions, there's a PA system. It will never be used unless it is an absolute life or death crisis.
It was almost unimaginable to think of a situation where that PA system would be used.
Right, like September 11th, they just shut down the rides and told and ushered people out and said, "Hey, turn on the news if you want to know what's going on, but we're closing the parks." They didn't even announce over the PA system that day.
The next day, or was it? Did they reopen on the 12th or the 13th?
They reopened on the 12th, if I'm not mistaken. I know that the parks were already open when everything happened.
Right.
And they closed not that long afterwards, but I believe they were open the next day because I think the general assumption was if anything was going to happen, it would have already.
Right, and that's another example of the parks. People say the parks don't close, but they do. On 9/11, they close. We've had some really bad hurricane seasons, and they'll close earlier in the day, and they might remain closed for a day or two. But this whole idea of, especially living here in Central Florida for those literal months where the parks weren't running was absolutely unheard of. All of a sudden, I can hear the fireworks from my backyard, and it has been quiet for months. It is so weird to not be able to be like, oh, that's wishes, it must be 9 o'clock, or happily ever after, it must be 9 o'clock, or, Christmas season, you know when they start their Christmas because the fireworks times change.
Yeah.
And
I remember,
so weird
living...
to just empty skies.
I remember, living, in the Lake Buena Vista area, and, we could stand on the balcony and watch wishes and illuminations from the apartment,
Yeah, from your porch.
Yeah, it's just weird for that to not exist anymore.
There was one of the local news stations actually did a lot of drone footage about a week after the shutdown happened, and they flew over the whole Walt Disney World campus. They went over I-4, which I affectionately call the I-4 parking lot. They went over SeaWorld and Universal and some of the bigger resorts, like these huge, massive resorts. And it was so absolutely surreal to see them empty.
Yeah, in the middle of the day. Yeah, I saw a lot of that. In fact, I saved a lot of those photos because it's just, again, like, and I'd said this at the time, if Disney wanted to get some promotional footage, some promotional photographs,
that's
like
the time.
Now's the time to do it. Like, and it amazes me because I don't think they did, but like, I mean, we all remember those souvenir videos they used to do where, Mickey and the gang are getting the park ready for the guests, and they would always have to shoot it like 5-6 o'clock in the morning because the custodians are gone and the guests aren't there yet.
There's a small window where Main Street's empty. Right,
yeah, and the sun is up. But yeah, like, that would have been a perfect opportunity for them to get some promotional photographs and footage done. I hope they took advantage of it. I would have loved to have just, if I was there, I would have paid $100 just to go into the park with my camera and tripod and just spend the whole day there, not riding rides, just taking pictures of stuff.
I'm fairly sure Mickey was in quarantine too. If not furloughed.
Well, getting off of the depressing events of the past year or so, let's take a break, and when we come back, we've got a much more delicious topic to discuss. And we're back. We've taken our masks off. We've sanitized. We've social distanced ourselves, and now we are ready to stuff our faces. I don't know. I didn't have an introduction to this setup already, but I know we discussed this towards the end of the last episode. But we're going to talk a little bit about our favorite Disney snacks. And I think we're going to try to keep this to, like your walk and eat sort of snacks. But, I mean, this can be, permanent snacks, temporary snacks, snacks that don't exist anymore. I want to start off with something in particular, but Amanda, since this was your idea, I'm going to let you get us started, and then I'll join in when we get to it.
Okay, well, there's a big debate in my house, and it's about the most ridiculous thing, because my husband and my son, it tends to be very guys against girls here, seem to think those Mickey-shaped pretzels are the best pretzels. And they are wrong, because at certain kiosks in the park, you can get pretzels stuffed with cream cheese. And those are absolutely the best pretzels.
See, now, I'm not a huge pretzel person. Well, let me rephrase that. I am a huge pretzel person. I'm just not a huge person for pretzels. If I'm going to eat a pretzel, it's going to be one of the big soft ones.
Right, well, these are both those.
And it's got to have something for me to dip it in. But if you're putting cream cheese inside the pretzel, I might not need that cup of plastic cheese to dip it in. That might be enough for me.
You've never had the cream cheese pretzels?
I have not. I don't know if they existed. Well, they must have existed, but I'd never heard of them.
My favorite place to get them next time you're there is right by Space Mountain. Not quite like it's near the metal palm trees. I can't think of the name of it right now off the top of my head.
Is it the Joffrey's stand?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
But it's not Joffrey's. Like, you can get them. There's one location in each park that has them in Animal Kingdom. It's over near Everest. I don't recall Epcot and Studios right now. but they're not. You can find the Mickey pretzels a lot easier, but one location in each park has them.
Okay. Oh no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's like there's a stand and it has soda and popcorn as well, right?
I don't remember. All I buy is the pretzels. You're looking at Space Mountain, and that big rolly globy thing is off to the side. It's right near the entrance to the People Mover.
Okay, that's not near Space Mountain at all.
You're looking at it. I didn't say it was near it. I said you were looking at it.
Okay. I think I have a vague idea where you're talking about, but
I'll circle it on a map and send it to you.
Okay, yeah, that'll work real well for the podcast listeners. I don't know. Check your guide map for more information. Yeah, I don't know as if I've ever had a pretzel at Disney World, again, because I'm not big on pretzels. But I will say that everybody, really, but you in particular introduced me to a new favorite Disney snack. Something that in my 35 or so years of going to Disney World, I had never tried before, and everybody was amazed that I hadn't. A year ago, it would have been like a year and 3 months ago, I had my first ever Dole Whip at age 38. I'd never had them. I was never a big fan of pineapple for most of my life. It's only like recent years that I've really started to like pineapple. And so it never really appealed to me. And you kept talking about how much you loved Dole Whips and how they're the greatest thing in the world. And everybody on the internet loves Dole Whips. Dole Whip everything. They had t-shirts and Mickey ears and everything like Dole Whips.
You can buy Dole Whip scented candles.
Well, right. And I'm like, okay, I have to try one of these. So, the night after, or 2 nights after, my wife and I got married, my brother and brother-in-law happened to also book a Disney vacation at the same time. So they said, we're going to be at Disney World while you guys are at Disney World. Let us take you out to dinner. So we went to Boma. We had dinner there. And then they said, well, I know you guys really want to go to Trader Sam's, but you can't do it now because you've got the kids with you. We'll watch the kids for you. You guys can go to Trader Sam's. So we took an Uber over to the Polynesian, and we went to Trader Sam's and spent about $80 on 2 drinks and with collectible mugs.
That's what it runs you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great experience, and the drinks were fantastic. We'll have to do a whole other episode on Disney drinks alone. But yes, we came out, and they were out in the area over near where the Dole Whip stand is. And I said, all right. I said, I've never had one of these. They're right here. I said, I have to try one. So I got one. I think everybody in the family got one, actually. And I took one taste of it and said, now I know why everybody loves these things. And our youngest son actually fell in love with Dole Whips.
Maybe it's a blessing you hadn't had one sooner, because think about how much money you saved not eating Dole Whips all those years.
Well, and, because I was not, like, much of a fan of pineapple before, a few years ago, I still don't eat pineapple. Yeah, well, I might have tried it, not liked it because it was pineapple, and then never tried it again, and now I love it. What's really fun is, and I believe this got brought up last month, there is an ice cream place nearby that actually has real official Dole branded Dole Whips, and so I managed to get one of those over the summer last year. Even though we weren't in Disney World, I was able to get my Dole Whip fix.
I'm jealous.
But so yeah, Dole Whips are now on my to-do list every time I go to Disney World. What else you got? What else? What snack do you, every time you go to the park or resort that you find it in, do you absolutely have to get? Like, you can't walk by the stand without getting it.
Mickey bars.
Now, do you prefer the the bars or the sandwiches?
The bar. It has to be on a stick.
So see, now I love the Mickey bars, and I'm thrilled that I can get the. I mean, they're smaller, but you can get the Mickey bars in the grocery store now. But like if the stand has the option of the bars and the sandwich, I have to get the sandwich. I love cookies and cream. And I'm not usually an ice cream sandwich sort of person, but just the chocolate and the cookies and cream ice cream and all that mixed together is just perfect.
My love for the Mickey bar goes. I actually have an antenna topper that is a Mickey bar. They sell Dole Whips too. My antenna topper is a Mickey bar.
Mickey bars they're
classic.
They are classic and they are delicious.
And that's how you know you're at Disney World.
I grew up on Eskimo pies, basically the exact same thing, but, you could buy them in the grocery store.
It's not shaped like Mickey, though.
Right, well, and that's kind of the thing, is when something is shaped like Mickey, it instantly tastes better. Kind of like the cinnamon bun that my family shared from Creature Comforts in Animal Kingdom. That thing was huge and delicious.
I don't think I've had the Mickey cinnamon bun yet.
Oh my god. It tastes like a cinnamon bun, but it's shaped like Mickey, so it's better.
Right. Like the Mickey waffles. They're regular waffles, but they're shaped like Mickey.
Oh, yeah. It's a perfect example. I actually want to get a Mickey waffle maker because, I like making homemade waffles, but they just don't taste... Yeah, they just don't taste Disney enough for me.
I mean, it's a thing. It exists.
I'm pretty sure that there is a documented mental illness for whatever it is that causes people like us to be obsessed with Mickey-shaped things that are otherwise ordinary.
Disney mania. It's Disney mania. I'm fairly sure it's a legit thing. I also prefer my ice cubes to be shaped like Mickey.
I don't think I have an ice cube.
And I have, not only do I have the Mickey-shaped ice cube tray, but I have the reusable Mickey ice cubes.
I do not have a Mickey-shaped ice cube tray, but I do have a Han Solo Frozen in Carbonite-shaped ice cube tray. I have that one too, and
that's actually awesome as well.
Well, the best one is the big giant one that, you just plunk that in, that'll keep your drink cold for hours.
With the accompanying Death Star, duh.
I don't have the Death Star one.
That was... It's technically my son's, but, he's 6. He lets me use it.
Speaking of ice, this gets a little bit into drink territory, but I have a Ziploc bag full of about a dozen of the glowing reusable ice cubes from the many, many Blue Glow-Teenies I've had over the years.
We have quite a collection of those, which is great because then when you come to visit and make me a Glow-Teenie, we can actually make it glow.
I do know how to make a blue
You've made me one before, and it was just as good as what was in the parks.
I don't know if it's just as good because, face it, I can't afford the top shelf liquor that Disney uses, but...
If you have enough of them, it doesn't matter.
That is true. I actually wanted to learn how to mix drinks specifically so that I could make Blue Glow-Teenies, and I don't think I ever learned how to make anything else after that. So,
I mean, really, you had your bases covered. That's the most important one. But drinks are a whole nother topic.
Yes, non-alcoholic snacks for the time being.
Because if we go back to snacks, we still have not touched on another classic.
Wonder if you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
Turkey legs?
It's
kind of a meal, but kind of a snack.
I used to love the turkey legs. I used to love them. I remember going to Magic Kingdom with a friend of mine after work and specifically seeking out the turkey leg cart, and that would be like our supper. We would spend all day working at Animal Kingdom, and then we'd get changed, go to Magic Kingdom, spend the rest of the night in Magic Kingdom, and our supper would be turkey legs.
You saying that reminded me of the first time I hung out with my husband after I met him at Epcot, and you were actually there. And he still does not let me live down that. He met us after work. He was starving. So first we go and we get popcorn over near Test Track. And then we go to France and we get chocolate mousse. And then we go to Norway and buy something from the bakery. And at that point, he has had like a week's worth of sugar in one day for dinner and went home feeling incredibly sick and did not recover for like a week because he had popcorn mousse and Norwegian baked goods for dinner.
Well,
but the chocolate mousse is good.
I got sick that night as well, actually, so...
I was fine.
And I also had a beer that day, which I don't normally drink beer.
Okay, so you can't blame the food.
But, what got us off on this? Oh, the turkey legs.
The turkey legs.
Yeah, the last time I had a turkey leg, it did not excite me. And I think I've kind of lost my taste for it.
I'm actually wondering if they changed the recipe recently.
Well, I do remember they used to be like just slathered with barbecue sauce. Or they'd come with a cup of barbecue sauce you put on it. And the last time I got one, I remember it being dry and not very barbecue-y.
I don't particularly care for barbecue sauce. But I sold on the turkey legs idea still. I haven't been completely turned off from them. But the last one I got did kind of leave me wanting a bit more.
See, and I'm usually the opposite. I'm usually about half to 2/3 of the way through a turkey leg, and I don't want any more.
Well, not more, more to be desired, not more turkey leg itself. So I'm wondering if maybe it's changed. Because, I mean, the food there's constantly evolving, and you should never get too attached to any one thing, because unless it's something super classic like a Dole Whip or a Mickey bar, it might not be there the next time you go.
Or, what I thought you were going to say, churro. Which
I actually did not have a churro in a theme park until the past year and a half.
So that's your Dole Whip.
It really is. There's such a classic thing, and I just always picked something else.
I had never had a churro before either until I almost want to say that your husband had introduced me to those.
He might have, and I just missed that train.
I remember I had gotten it from a cart in Hollywood Studios over in the New York Street / Streets of America area during Christmas time. It was the Festival of Dancing Lights season.
I miss that so much.
And I do not miss that, but that's a topic for a few months from
now. A different episode.
And he had said, "You've never had one? You have to have one." And I had one. I'm like, "Oh my god, how have I?" It's cinnamon and fried dough, and how have I never known these things existed before?
Was I there for this?
You must have.
I might not have been. I could have been at work. I don't know.
I don't think I spent a whole lot of time with your husband without you.
But no, I honestly
there was one or two times, but not usually.
I
in the
honestly
parks.
did not have my first churro until it's been within the past 2 years, and it wasn't with my husband. It was another friend who finally convinced me to eat a churro.
I do love cinnamon, and I loved churros so much. I didn't get to have one on our last trip, but General Mills has released a Cinnamon Toast Crunch Churros cereal that I will get occasionally. And there was something else churro themed that I got recently that I can't remember what it was. It was some snack or cereal.
I know the churros are extremely popular.
I remember what it was. Malto Meals has a cereal called Churros with, O-O, because they're basically Fruit Loop. They're basically cinnamon Fruit Loops.
They made Fruit Loops better.
Yeah, they're the shape and texture of Fruit Loops, but they're cinnamon, and there's just something about the distribution and the flavor of the cinnamon that it's probably my favorite cinnamon cereal now because they're just perfect. But yeah, churros very quickly became one of my favorite snacks at Disney, and one that I have the least because they're unlike Mickey bars and popcorn. You can't find them everywhere.
I mean, nobody the popcorn's good. I love popcorn. I have popcorn multiple times a week. But the real draw with the popcorn is not the popcorn, but the buckets, especially since they've started doing the limited edition, collectible, seasonal buckets.
Oh, God, that would just kill me. I mean, I already have some limited edition seasonal buckets before they started promoting them as, look at this special thing you can get. I'll tell you, when I saw, like, the BB-8 one when we were there, I'm like, oh my God, I have to have that. But I knew I couldn't because I have a family.
I bought the R2-D2 one when I was pregnant with my oldest. And then I had to stop because I'm just looking at these. It's like, if I keep on buying them, then I'm going to have to buy everyone. And again, I have a family now. So I've stopped buying the collectible shaped buckets, but they have some beautiful ones.
I do have a cupboard full of all of the Disney popcorn buckets I have collected
before
over
they
the
were weird
decades.
shapes, but just the different prints on them.
Right, yeah.
I have a stack as tall as I am, because you'd get them, like, I mean, you can't not get popcorn, at least occasionally.
Right, and, you know, the great thing about the bucket is you get more of it, and now you get, you know, like $1 refills, so it's even more worthwhile to get the bucket.
But the shaped ones I really want the Cinderella carriage. That's the one that I kind of wished I had jumped on. But the popcorn, I mean, Main Street just calls for popcorn sometimes.
Oh yeah, Main Street or the Hub in general. Hollywood Studios, especially.
Although the best Hub treat isn't popcorn, it's an ice cream cone.
No, it is a sundae from the Plaza Ice Cream.
I prefer the cones. And they put the little chocolate ears on them.
See, I'm just such a sundae eater. One of my favorite things to do, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up repeating myself like every month, but my favorite thing to do is to go to the Plaza Ice Cream corner and get myself a waffle cone sundae with the cookie dough ice cream with the Toll House cookie dough in it.
You actually bought me my first ice cream cone, though, there. And I remember this vividly because it was right after I had moved here. And you go up, and I was going to pick a random name, Alice. And you're like, hey, Alice, how are you doing? It's so nice to see you. And you have this whole conversation. She's sitting there with a name tag that says Brittany. And that was when I realized that if you don't have your name tag, they just give you one. And it sticks out in my mind because I'm sitting there this whole time like, this girl's name is not Alice. You know? And I'm like, oh, wow, this really is a completely different culture that I am entering into.
Oh, yeah. On my first college program for, like, 2 whole months, I was Jason.
Oh, that's too close.
You know, well, yeah, actually, I was Jason for a little while, and then I got tired of that because, for some reason, all of the adults in my hometown would call me Jason, even though, you know, I grew up around them and they should have known my name was Justin.
You think?
But, so I got tired of that because I always wanted to correct people. So then I found one that was Michael, which is my father's name. So it was something I was used to hearing and would respond to, but I wouldn't feel the urge to correct.
Right.
And I think one day I was Sunshine. Because, you know, I needed a name tag, and that was one of the ones in there.
That is wonderful, and I love that that was the thing that happened.
I'm exceptionally sad. We're kind of off topic right now, but I'm exceptionally sad because the name tag that I lost was my 100 Years of Magic name tag.
Oh, that is sad.
Which was not only, you know, a limited run name tags, but it had your favorite Disney memory on it.
Instead of just where you're from.
Yeah, instead of your hometown or, you know, as it's been for the past, like, 15 years, nothing on it.
Oh.
So, you know, I was really happy to have my name tag with the Haunted Mansion on the bottom of it, and then that got lost and never replaced. Anyway.
But back onto our topic.
Yes, popcorn. I'm trying to think what other snacks, like, I absolutely crave.
Okay. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I have decided that heaven has to smell like the caramel shop in the Germany pavilion.
Okay.
because they have the Werther's Caramel Shop there, which also, incidentally, is where they filmed their TV commercial. I thought it looked familiar, and my husband and I paused it once and did side-by-side comparison with pictures. The commercial was filmed there. But that is what heaven smells like. Even if I'm not necessarily hungry, I just go in there, and that smell of, like, the caramel and all of those snacks. Because it used to be Norway was my favorite bakery. They have a lot of really unique baked goods there that you can't really get everywhere else. A lot of options. So Norway was where I'd go for baked goods. But that caramel shop in Germany just smells delicious.
See, I am not a huge caramel fan. Like, I like it when it's like kind of like a caramel nougat, like it's the soft, chewy stuff that's in the middle of candy bars. I don't usually like it when it's hard, and
I don't like the hard, like the hard candies.
No, not like those. I don't mean like crunchy. I mean like if
I know what
my
you're saying, yeah.
teeth don't sink into it, I don't like it.
They have these little squares. I call them basic squares because, you know, basic white girl basic. And it's like chocolate and like this gooey cake. And it's just covered in caramel. And oh my God. It's so good. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry just this whole conversation.
Disney food is like a legit
craving.
Yeah,
I mean, we could do an entire episode on restaurants and just like the special foods that they have there, especially, you know, like
food and wine.
Food and wine has some amazing snacks. I'm still hoping to get to try Frushi one of these days. But yeah, just like there's just something about, first of all, Disney's got some of the best chefs in the world working for them, coming up with incredible things. And then, you know, add to that, anything with Mickey ears tastes better.
But I mean, normally when you think about how they have these chefs, you start thinking about, you know, the restaurants. Like you said, that could be a whole episode. You know, Le Cellier, Canada. I really love the food in Pandora at Animal Kingdom. But it really does translate into those smaller, like, bite-sized snacks in a way that places don't generally excel at.
Oh my God, speaking of snacks in Animal Kingdom, you just reminded me of a snack that I loved so much that I will get it anywhere it's available, and I'll even make it at home. The macaroni and cheese with pulled pork.
Yes!
I never would have thought to put those two things together, but I tried it at Animal Kingdom when we were there a few years ago. It was amazing.
It's so good.
There's a water and amusement park near where I live called Enchanted Forest.
Water Safari.
They have
That's it off.
Enchanted Forest, Water Safari, where the fun never stops.
They have the mac and cheese with pulled pork. And I had it
They
there.
do?
Yep. And
that's so amazing. I love it.
Yep. And you know, like now when I just make my Kraft microwave mac and cheese, sometimes I'll just microwave up some pulled pork and pour it on top because it's just that good, and it's something that I never would have thought to have, except that I don't know what, I think it was DFB. Disney Food Blog would do, the best snacks, and they talked about it. I'm like, that sounds delicious. I have to try it. Actually, you can get a full meal of it at Flame Tree Barbecue. So
that's what I like about Food and Wine. Like you said, how like you can go to Flame Tree Barbecue and get the full meal, and then you have it as a snack. Because I know we've talked about this before. I really like the soup at Le Cellier. And it's hard to get reservations there, but doing Food and Wine, I can just get a cup of it. And that's something else that I think they're really good at, which is taking their really popular meals and kind of bigger items and editing them down into smaller snacks to kind of reach a bigger audience.
Yeah, and what's nice about that, and not only a bigger audience, but you get to try more things. Because, I mean, let's face it, when you're in Disney World, chances are you're only going to eat 2 meals a day. Like, you have a big breakfast, and then a big late lunch or something like that.
Yeah, late lunch / early dinner type thing.
Yeah, or you have a brunch buffet and a late dinner, and then you snack throughout the rest of the day. So snacks are such a huge part of the Disney World experience because you get hungry, you don't want to wait in line for a quick service restaurant.
Or take the time out of your day to sit and eat a meal.
Right, so you go to a stand and you pick something up, and it really is kind of one of those things. And I mean, I suppose it's true of any amusement park, carnival, any place you go, they hit you up with all those things, but there's just something about Disney snacks that are...
The quality is just so much better. Like, I'm a huge cupcake person, and I will forever be trying to reach the double chocolate Darth Vader cupcake that they used to have during Star Wars weekends.
My wife got the rose gold cupcake when we were there a few years ago, and
those were so beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful and delicious. She had some other cupcake on our last trip that was just as beautiful but didn't taste as good. So that was kind of disappointing for her. But yeah,
But one snack out of how many?
Yeah, I was going to say, most of the time, it looks amazing. It's the best chocolate mousse I've ever had in my life is at the bakery in the France Pavilion, as you mentioned earlier.
Not a good dinner, but a wonderful snack.
And that bakery is so good. I remember going there, and it was just this little bakery on a side street in the France Pavilion.
Easy to miss.
Yeah, easy to miss. If you didn't know it was there, you probably wouldn't think to go in there.
I wonder if that bakery is going to stay there. There's big changes coming to the France Pavilion with the Ratatouille ride.
I imagine they'll probably just put another entrance on it so that you can access it from both sides. But yeah, the bakery is so good and so popular that they expanded it to 10 times its original size, and now you need to queue up to get anything.
It used to be really easy. I had walked by it and didn't even know it was there. But you have world-class chefs working with a huge, everybody goes to Disney and they crowdsource those recipes, and the good ones stick around, and they're delicious.
One snack I didn't get to try last time I was there, where I know just outside of the Tiki Room, they have that stand that does the special spring rolls. Have you ever tried any of those?
I have not had any of those.
I love a hamburger spring roll or a cheeseburger spring roll. Uno has something like that. Cheesecake Factory has something like that. And I really wanted to try the one at Disney World, and I didn't get a chance.
I didn't know they had those, but that's something I'm going to have to look out for.
It might be one of those seasonal things, so you probably can't find it now, but... and I guess they change up, what's at the stand every once in a while. I know...
Of course, got to keep things fresh.
Right. I know the Tim Tracker has stopped and gotten different spring rolls from there, but I was hoping that you would have an experience or an opinion on them.
No, I missed that one somehow. And Tiki Room is one of those attractions that I almost always hit up when I am able to. But I don't often eat in that area of the park because if I am, it's a Dole Whip. So I just don't get anything else.
Yeah, I was very glad that we went to the Polynesian on our last trip because I tried to get a Dole Whip on 2 occasions when we were in the Magic Kingdom.
That line is...
Yeah, the line was bad, the weather was hot, the kids were miserable, so I didn't end up getting it. So it was nice having this. It was a very... It was the perfect temperature, and of course it was December, so it wasn't super humid, and there, of course, it was the Polynesian, so there wasn't a super long line. We've come full circle back to Dole Whips.
There's a reason why they're so popular.
Right. They're so good, and I wish I could have one right now. But since we've come full circle, unless there's any other, snacks that jump to mind...
I mean, there will always be a long list of Disney snacks that I want at any given moment. But those are, my biggies, the classics... the ones that I definitely, I will go to Disney for these items.
Well, I think that that wraps it up now that I am hungry and depressed and
I'll send you Dole Whip vibes.
just want to hop on a plane right now and go spend a long weekend in Disney World.
Oh, there is one more thing I wanted to mention. The plane made me think of that. Have you ever had one of those Mickey chocolate bars? Like, it's just a chocolate bar in a Mickey wrapper?
You know, I almost brought those up. I have not, but I know I was going to bring up the Disney, I think it was the gummies or something.
My mom was obsessed with these chocolate bars to the point where she would plan her flights into Orlando, because lots of times the flights come in late, to be early enough that the Disney store would still be open so she could buy them at the airport. I'm fairly sure if I had tried to fly home to visit, even with my daughter, without those candy bars, she might not have let me in. I had one once. It tastes like regular chocolate. But she loved these chocolate bars so much.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't basically just a Nestle bar.
It pretty much was, but it's kind of just like how we somehow think that even ice tastes better if it's shaped like Mickey Mouse or Han Solo. Apparently something about this Mickey Mouse wrapper just made it taste better to her.
Weird. The only other thing that I could think of just to close this out is, I know that everybody's, the coffee drinkers out there are always so excited to find out that there's Starbucks in Disney parks. And that's great and all, and I love some of their special lattes and stuff, but, like, I seriously, if you've never had it before, get a Joffrey's iced coffee. Joffrey's coffee is so good, and they're, first of all, like, there's almost never a really long line because, I don't know what Joffrey's is, I want to go to Starbucks. But, like, Joffrey's coffee is so good that, like, half the time we actually went out of our way to go to Joffrey's instead of Starbucks because it's just so
I'm a
creamy.
big Starbucks
and
person.
light.
I love Starbucks, and there was just something really exhilarating about the first time I was able to hold Starbucks in my hand and walk down Main Street looking at the castle. But I agree with you. When I go to Starbucks, I don't normally get coffee. I normally get, a Frappuccino or a Refresher or some ridiculously complicated drink that takes 5 minutes to order and 15 minutes to make.
Right. Like an iced s'mores latte or something ridiculous like that. Like, it's more of a dessert than a coffee.
And it has enough calories, too. But if I just want a coffee, because coffee is what gives me life, Joffrey's is the better coffee, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, on that note of caffeine-fueled
rantings and ravings.
Yes, it is past midnight for both of us right now, and I don't know about you, but I've got to get up early, so we're gonna wrap this up. But we'll have another episode for you next month. Also, check out the DisneyParkBench.com for the first of a series of guides to Walt Disney World, the Utilidork's Guide to Enjoying Walt Disney World, and it's something I have spent over a decade writing and editing and crafting, and that's there for you to check out, as well as our blogs and our previous podcast episode and all of the stuff that's coming up. Amanda, did you have anything left to say before we go?
I think you've covered everything.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you real soon.